Good morning, guys. Welcome back to Horsepower Obsessed. Today we're actually going to head over to my local dealership where they have a C8 Corvette on the showroom floor. Shh. I'm going to get to review it by myself.
Okay guys, so like I said, the C8 is definitely a striking looking car, and as you can see here, we actually have the power wire running to it because they're actually packing everything up, but they let me go ahead and take a look at the car. This is just so the interior stuff can stay on without draining the battery all day. But even with the cable hanging from it, it is a very striking looking car. It's very nice, very well appointed. But let's go over some of the outside features. Obviously we have the new redesigned headlights here. These are LED strips right here that actually light up white during the day and turn to yellow or amber for the turn signal lights. Now inside here we actually have LED headlights, not HIDs. So with the C7, these were actually HID or high intensity discharge bulbs, but in these ones, LED. So we're moving into the future with this stuff, guys. This is the first time in my experience that the Corvette's technology has really caught up to what the Corvette stands for, and this is pretty awesome stuff. Now, if we move down from there, right here we have large radiators to keep this thing cool. So we got one on the passenger side, one on the driver's side, and it actually, for the Z51 package, has brake cooling ducts right here as well. If we come down here and look in there though, you can actually see, you can still get the radiator in there as well. So it's a little bit split between the two here. We got brake cooling ducts as well as more radiator to be cooled through those openings. This thing should stay cool. We shouldn't have any problems with overheating on this car. Now you can see this is all actually just plastic down here, but this is the front lip for the Z51. Over here we have carbon flash painted canard style plastic, just to give it that extra little bit of spice. And again, because it's the 3LT, we do get the front cameras, one right there and one right here as well, with this center section here being removable for a front license plate if you're unlucky enough to live in one of those states where you need that. And right underneath the driver's side headlight, we actually have the pad to pop the front Frunk, and it's already popped, but you can hear it actually trying to pop it again. So if we open this up, in here is where the battery would be. Like I said, they have it hooked up so it's got power for me to do this. You actually get an interior light for the Frunk, as well as a button to press in case you were ever accidentally locked in there, and a cigarette lighter. Chevy actually does offer a battery tender that will plug right in there and allow this to charge so it doesn't die while sitting over the winter time. The battery is actually stored right here underneath this plastic shroud, but it does give you access to the brake fluid as well as the windshield washer fluid right there. So obviously we also have the carbon flash painted badges, as well as the carbon flash painted Corvette logos and Stingray logo in the back. As you can see, the targa top is off. It's actually still in the trunk. So this was removed before we started to do any kind of review on the car. They actually had it covered, and whenever they went to reveal it for the dealership, it was already off. So I never even got to see them remove it. But I did get to see them actually clip it into the trunk.
Still super light. Put it back in here. These guys just slide up and down the cylinders, go right into this grommet right here on the top of the top of the bay. And you'll notice you have sliders down here at the back, just to slide the roof back in on either side.
Oh.
So all you do, tilt it in at an angle, feel to make sure it's lined up, and then just pop it in. And it's a lot more pressure than you'd think. I mean, it's...
Yeah, I thought there was a release in the center.
No release. But keep in mind, this is a show car. I mean, we've been on the road for 5 months, and it still takes that amount of pressure to pop that in.
How's that, Mike?
So the springs really do.
You've done how many miles on this car?
Under 20.
Now this particular car comes with the open spoke carbon flash painted wheels with the black calipers. You can't really see it here now, but that does say Z51 on it. No two-piece rotors in the front or the rear, and I'm not really sure why they didn't do something a little bit more spectacular than just a flat rotor there, but apparently it doesn't need it. Inside the wheel well here, you can not very clearly see, but it is actually vented for the front radiators. All the air coming through here moves into the wheel well and then out through the back of the car. As you can see here with the driver's side mirror, it's actually already set up on auto dim. So just like with the C7, we're getting an auto dimming mirror. If you see up here in the corner, that's the actual blind spot detection. So it will let you know if someone's in your blind spot. And on the outside, we also have an LED turn signal indicator. This is something else that I thought that the C7 was missing, and the C8 got it. Again, because this is the Z51, we get the Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires on the front and rear. These are 245 width, and the rears are 305 width. Now, if you don't get the Z51 package, these are actually all-season tires instead. Now, coming over to the passenger side, you actually see in the actual side vent is a giant radiator. Now, I was actually told today I didn't know this. This particular radiator is actually for the transmission. And what's really interesting is the driver's side does not have a visible radiator in there. So instead of a radiator, it actually has 3 different air ducts. You can clearly see there is no radiator. So what one of the ducts actually does is loop all the way through here, around the back, and feed into the engine. So it's pulling in cold air right from there. And the other 2 go to the brake cooling ducts on the rear driver and rear passenger side. Now I was told that behind all that stuff, there is a radiator around right here. So technically there is a radiator, it's just not as visible as it is on the passenger side. And since we're here, let's take a look at the gas cap area. It's very tiny, a lot smaller than it is on the C7. As you can see, still capless design. Nothing earth-shattering here, but I haven't seen anybody show it, so why not? So basically it's just a push to close, push to open type thing, just like the C7 was. Now if we come around the back here, we can actually open up the rear hatch and take a look at the engine. And it's interesting because I was told behind this license plate is where the actual keyhole is. So if you needed to get into this car without any battery power, you'd take off your license plate, put a key in, and pop it just like you would on the C7 as well. So if we come right up under here, there is a button for electronic popping, and that will pop it up, and then we can open up the entire hatch. Now, as you can see under here, there is the carbon fiber appearance package in here. Looks really nice, definitely helps finish off this whole area in a show car type way. As you can see, the roof is already mounted in here, like I showed that video earlier of the person actually putting it in there and clipping it into place. Pretty similar to the way it does on the C7, it's just obviously a little bit more vertical. Now, right here, you can actually see the mag ride strut wire on the passenger side and over there on the driver's side as well. A little bit closer up view of the carbon fiber appearance package. Definitely looks good. Radiator cap right here, and over here the oil cap, which is still showing as 0W40 oil. If you guys remember, Chevrolet actually switched the oil in the Corvettes a little while back, and that change moves over to the C8 as well. One thing that was a little iffy for me is the struts that hold this up. They seem a little weak. Now again, like I said, this is a prototype, so this may not make it to production, but this hatch is just so big and it's kind of flimsy feeling, but I don't know. Like I said, some of this stuff has to be reserved for final production, but right now, that looks like it could be an issue. Another thing I thought was interesting in the rear is that we actually get 2 lights back here. So these lights only come on when the hatch is closed and when the car is parked. These do not stay on while driving, which I was a little disappointed by, but hopefully someone comes up with a fix for that, because I'd like those things to be on all the time, just so everybody can always see this. This power plant is so nice looking. Look at that. I mean, this thing is definitely finished off in a show car way for sure. Now, if I go to close this rear hatch, if you guys watch, this is actually a soft close hatch. See, it pulls it down just like the newer C7s did. It's basically called auto cinching, and it just grabs the hook and pulls it all the way down so you don't have to slam this whole panel. Now, you guys know the glass is vented in the back to let out as much heat as possible, but these are wide open vents here. And it's actually vented on the bottom here as well, under the glass. The question came up earlier while I was here as to how dirty is this gonna let the engine bay get? And the answer was yes. I mean, basically, these are wide open, so dirt is going to get in there. That's definitely something you're going to want to be conscious of if you're looking to take this thing to shows. Now, right above that glass, you can actually see the camera for the rear view mirror camera right there. That is where that image is coming from. Now, coming around to the back again, we actually have these vents, which are functional. It actually pulls all of the air through the actual scoop and allows it to come out back here. So all of the hot air from the radiator will vent out the back of the car, as well as just making it a little bit more aerodynamic. Now, as you can see here in the back as well, down underneath the rear diffuser is mesh. Just like in the back around the glass, this is going to allow out as much heat as possible from the exhaust and the engine itself. Again, cooling is the name of the game here. Right above here, though, we have some backup sensors. So we have one built in right there, one right there, and then the same on the passenger side as well. So these are basically just going to beep if you get close to something, in addition to actually having the backup camera. Now, what's really interesting here is, since this is the Z51, we also get a rear tow hook access panel, because GM knows some guys are really going to take this thing to the track and use it like it should be used. So that's definitely awesome to see. Now, as I showed you in the interior earlier, there is an electronic e-brake, and because of the way the rear rotors are set up on this car, they actually needed to add a second caliper for the e-brake. So this is your normal braking caliper, and this is the e-brake caliper. Normally this is housed inside of a bigger drum section of the rear rotor, but they went with a different design here and added an additional caliper, which is kind of cool. I've seen this in a lot of track-oriented supercars, so this definitely plays the same kind of part on this beautiful Sebring Orange C8 Corvette. Now in the wheel wells, we actually have the plastic piece that connects via clips, just like on the C7. So I imagine right off the bat, we're gonna get some third-party, larger splash guards for the front and rear, because it should be a very similar install as the C7. So if any of you third-party companies out there aren't on it yet, that's definitely where I would start. Objects in mirror are losing. And again, we have the passenger side blind spot detection indicator right there. And if we come in from the passenger side, you can see that wall's not really that great. So it's not the great wall like everybody wants you to believe, but it doesn't look as bad in person as I thought it did in photos. It actually works in this interior. If you think about it, the C7 had a very similar design, it just wasn't quite as big. So let's give you a little bit better shot of the rear glass here. Again, I was told today that this rear glass is actually twice the thickness of a normal piece of automotive glass to keep the sound and heat down. Here's a better shot of the actual speaker there in the center and the cell phone wireless charger as well. The 3LT interior has the embossed Corvette logo in the headrests as well. Again, like I said, these are the GT2 seats with the carbon fiber inserts. Pretty cool. We also have a little C8 Corvette flag right in the metal here for the seatbelt loop. And the mounting points for the C8 target top. Very similar to the C7. We have a hole here, a hole over on the driver's side, and then a little clip here for the top to snap down into, and then two holes on the top here and over there where the target top would clip into. So very similar design, but the one part that was actually shared with the C7 and C8, believe it or not, is right in here. It's this guy. That's the only part that was shared from the C7 to the C8. I was told that again today by a GM employee, so it's got to be true. So basically this entire car is all new. Now, one thing I did notice as well is the pads underneath the door that allow you to electronically open them. They seem to be a little bit more responsive than they were on the C7. If I put my finger on here and just barely push, the door opens. So I'm actually pretty impressed with that because the C7 was kind of hit or miss depending on how used to that pad you were. Now the default option here is actually a painted side skirt. So it would be painted to match the actual car. The black option you see here now is actually an upcharge of a little over $500, but this is also a dealer installed option. So the car will ship with just that area painted, and then they actually put a cover over top of it to give it this blacked out appearance. The black definitely looks great. I actually prefer the full length side skirts, but I haven't actually seen those on a car in person yet. I believe those were on constraint. You can really get a good glimpse of the carbon flash paint work here on the actual side scoop. Guys, the way that this carbon flash accents the Sebring Orange is freaking phenomenal. Here's the actual LED headlights on. You can see the LED bars as well as the LED headlight. Gives it a really blue, modern look and what the turn signals would look like. As you can see, this actually stays illuminated and then just flashes amber in color as well. And from the rear, we can actually see the sequential turn signals for the hazard lights. So again, we have the LED part of the taillight, and then the actual turn signal part you can see is going sequentially over to the left. Both sides flash like that. Definitely is a cool addition to the C8. Actually has the loudest sounding hazard alert I've ever heard. But guys, just check out this view. How awesome is that? Definitely would miss that if you get a convertible. And the dreaded square exhaust tips. They actually don't look too bad in person though. They do fit the car pretty well. I still think they would probably look better as a center exhaust exit, but what are you gonna do? The overall car looks fantastic. All right guys, that's gonna do it for today's video. As you can see back here, Sebring Orange C8 Corvette. They let me kind of do my own review for it, but what do you guys think? You gonna get one of these? This is the Z51 Sebring Orange, definitely optioned out, and it's beautiful. Let me know down below what your thoughts are of this car. But anyway guys, that's gonna do it for today's video. So if you have any questions about this car, let me know in the comments down below or send me an email, horse.power.obsessed@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to answer them for you. If you guys haven't subscribed yet, please do. I'm gonna have loads of C8 and C7 content coming. You're not gonna wanna miss it. And as always guys, I'll catch you in the next upload.